Today we're having, it's coconut waffles with a peach around it. And I'm going to be talking about candies, this one in particular. I'm not showing you the brand name because I don't want the company to get the chance to not show my video, to say that my video shouldn't be shown. So it's back in there. And I'm just gonna take this and read the ingredients off for you.
That's for the candy, right?
Yeah, this is for the candy.
It's not for your waffles.
No, my waffles are very basic. They're, I didn't have enough. I only had 1.5 peaches per person. And really, to pull this off, I need 2 peaches for each person. See, I have missing around my edge of my waffle here. But yeah, my waffles are just oats put through the food processor to make them into flour. And then I add some baking soda and some, this time I added about maybe 1/4 of the mix is flaked coconut, unsweetened. And then I add the liquid. So you can add xanthan gum powder, or you can use eggs. And with the oats, I bet you it'd stick together if you didn't use either. But I do. So anyway, so that depends on your taste, if you want eggs, if you want xanthan. So this could be vegan, this could be not, whichever you choose. And then you add the liquid to it. And the liquid could be, if you like a sweet waffle, which makes it harder to make, to not stick to the thing, then you can soak, chop up some dates and soak them in boiled water and let that cool before you put it into your mix. So you could use that, and that works out really great. But anyway, I don't find I need a sweet waffle. I mean, I've shown you how to make some cookie waffles and some cake waffles and stuff like that, but honestly, I like them pretty plain. I like them just mixed with water, and then I put the fruit to make them sweet. It works out great for me. Anyway, back to the candies. So, sugar, glucose syrup, palm fat, humectant, includes sorbitol syrup, acid, citric gelatin flavoring, fruit and plant concentrate, safflower, lemon, spirulina, radish, blackcurrant, carrot, apple, caramelized sugar, syrup, licorice extract, anti-caking agent, talc.
Is that the anti-caking agent, or is it separate from the anti-caking agent?
That's it, talc. Glazing agent, white and yellow beeswax, treacle, inverted sugar syrup, and that's it. So, I mean, you may be, at first you're looking at this was made in the Netherlands and Belgium, and I have made jokes my whole life, and I've made it to the Dutch people that I've known, and they have never taken offense to it. They found it funny. But if somebody takes offense to it, I am very sorry for offending you. But what I've always said to my Dutch friends is, droop how Dutch people punish their children for wanting candy. And but in this case, this might be how Dutch people punish other people's children for wanting candy, because talc is not healthy to eat. So,
and how is it not healthy?
Well, I will read this. This is from drugwatch.com. So if you look up talcum powder under drugwatch.com, studies have linked regular talcum powder use to ovarian cancer, mesothelioma, and other cancers. The juries are finding companies like Johnson & Johnson responsible. While further studies are needed, some medical experts are warning consumers to avoid products that contain talcum powder because of potential cancer risk. Talc is the softest known mineral. Hydrated magnesium silicate is its chemical name. When it's finely ground, talc creates a smooth and silky powder that absorbs moisture, reduces odors, and cuts down on friction. Those properties make it a ideal ingredient for baby powder, deodorant, makeup, and hundreds of other consumer products. Talc dust can cause significant harm if it's swallowed or inhaled. One theory is that talcum powder products are contaminated with asbestos, a known carcinogen. In nature, talc mines are often located near asbestos deposits. As a result, raw talc is often laced with asbestos. So,
now maybe the Dutch are careful about it, but
if you're careful about it, you don't put talc in candy. You're trying to kill other people's children. So
talc,
anyway,
they're saying, is smooth, and the thing about asbestos, I think, is it's had rough edges.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That
so
could be it. You're right. That's probably the problem.
It would cause lesions inside the body, not just in the lungs. I think that's what causes mesothelioma.
Yeah.
Mesothelioma. So,
did you even get any sleep last night? You did. It seemed like you were up all the time.
What was that?
It seemed like you were up all the time.
Well, I hurt my back. I thought Elvis was having an epileptic fit.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I wanted to get him on the floor really quickly so he wouldn't fall on it.
So,
I hurt my back doing that. So.
In any case, I was depressed and I ate a lot of candies. Now, I didn't eat, I probably ate this much, just in like several different bags. What I was doing was I was getting candy to fill piñatas, because I make, some of my art projects that I make are piñatas. I like to do it.
Pretty cool.
It's fun. But now, the candy that I have to fill the piñatas, I don't want to fill, because just in case somebody actually breaks my piñata and eats the candy, this is not, I don't want to feed anyone talc. So, but anyway, I was eating this, and this flavor in particular, this peach flavored one, I took a fondness to, and so I was eating those and leaving the rest to fill a piñata. So I have a bag full of candies to put. I also like some of those other flavors, but the ones I really liked were the peach ones. And they don't seem to put a lot of those in the bags. But anyway, what I was reminded of when I put the peach one in my mouth, and as soon as I got the flavor hit, I was like, oh, this reminds me of when I was in, I think it was Woolworths in Grand Prairie. I don't know if that's right. But
long time ago. Eh?
It was a long time ago. It was when I was a little kid. Dad would take me there because they had one of those juice machines that used to, the square kind that made the juice flow around, so it looked pretty. And I liked the look of it anyway. I was mesmerized by the look of the juice flowing around. And they had two flavors, and one of them was peach, and it was a great flavored peach. And so Dad would take me there, and he would buy me, and himself, he would buy us each a peach juice.
Peach juice is almost better than the peach.
Yeah, but it wasn't real peach juice. I mean, it would have been some concoction with powder or whatever. And so eventually, he found peach, some sort of powdered peach drink, and we'd drink that home. So when I tasted that, I was like, oh, Woolworths, and Dad, special time with Dad, right? Him taking me to get me peach juice, because I liked it. I don't know why Kathy wasn't there when we were, she didn't like peach juice. I don't know, but we'd go. It was great.
I used to think Woolworths was a Canadian chain, but I think it's an English brand. I think it's dead in Canada, and it might be dead in England. I don't know, but it might not have moved to the United States.
And if you want to make your waffle even more creamy when you're making a coconut waffle, is you can put a can of coconut milk in instead of your water. And then it's really fattening. And anyway, that's really all I wanted to talk about. I have the tomato harvest to do, but I'll do that after I eat, and James can do his review in the meantime.
That's pretty substantial.
It is, but what happened is we went to James's house yesterday, and we forgot the camera to do look at how James's tomatoes are growing. But somebody had harvested, not us, not a deer, somebody had harvested 2 tomatoes off of James's favorite tomato plant in the front.
The one I figured last time it was something like maybe 34 tomatoes. Now it's 32.
Yeah. And
yeah, so if you'd taken the camera, we could have documented the crime.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like right near the sidewalk. Someone purposely.
It's right along the house. They had to go all the way to the front of the yard, all the way to the back of the front of the yard.
Yeah, maybe they stayed on the sidewalk. It's hard to say. Anyway,
so I brought
there's scumbugs everywhere.
I brought out my Symphony tomato variety pack, and I got this in 2016, which is
that particular pack.
This pack, which I saved the receipt from, and it was $6. And I had been using it to measure my tomatoes over the years and go, I saved myself this much money.
How many pounds was that roughly?
It's 1.5 pounds in one of these containers.
And $6, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and it's non-GMO, but it's not organic, which is what I did with my tomatoes this year. I didn't, I used fertilizer. I didn't grow them organically because I was too depressed and I couldn't deal with it. So I had to cut down on the amount of work that I devoted to that, and I devoted more work to my art, so I was writing more in the spring rather than caring for tomatoes and stuff. So anyway, every time I do tomatoes, I could figure that out. I could say, or at the end where I'm keeping track of them as I go, I could measure it out and go, this is what we saved this year. So was it worth it for the time or the whatever? But for me, it's worth it to go out every morning and see the new tomatoes ripening up and see the plant, how tall they've gotten or how whatever, it's the plants themselves. Like these seeds were from 2016, if I remember correctly. I didn't expect them to grow. And so some of them might have been from that pack, but I don't think I grew any from that pack that time. But anyway, but sometimes when I find non-GMO seeds like that in the grocery store, I'll buy them and save them, right? And then I have some more non-GMO, which if it's non-GMO, you can grow them organically. If they're GMO, you can never grow them organically. So if you save those seeds, I don't know. Anyway, that's up to you what you do. I don't know what I was going to say about it. Just the pleasure of the tomato plants being a part of your family. You keep collecting the seeds from the same plants, and over decades, you're planting the same tomatoes. They're living with you. They're a part of your family, the tomatoes. So anyway, go ahead. You can take it over.
Started this yesterday, the Adventures of Tutankhamen, and it's about the famous pharaoh. They figure he ruled from age 9 to 18. So the corpse we have is someone who's still a teenager in a weird sort of way, and long dead. Of course, that's a topic of much controversy. One of the wonderful things about his tomb is untouched antiquity. So if you've got organic material, they do, and test it for radiocarbon, and you can test the Egyptian chronology by looking at the raw carbon-14 or radiocarbon readings, and he's conventionally dated to 1350 BC. One reading was just a little under 900 BC, the other was just a little over 850 BC. If it's 850 BC, we've got a problem. Houston or Harvard or Oxford. We've got a problem, you Egyptologists. You've been ignoring it for over, it would be from about 1955, for over 2 generations, you shameless pukes. The 500-year discrepancy, 450-year discrepancy over, or almost 300 years ago. Isaac Newton, it was published in, I think, 1725, almost 300 years ago. And Newton pointed out it wasn't published according to, it wasn't with his approval. He probably had figured this out even about more than 300 years ago. He was sitting on the manuscript. He said there's 400 too many years in Egyptian chronology, and he was right, up to a point. It's even more than 400 years in Egyptian chronology. And the radiocarbon readings bear out what he said. What they do now to satisfy the Egyptologists and the radiocarbon experts don't even realize it now, because they haven't studied the history of their discipline, or lack of the same. The first thing they did once they got it together was they ran off to the Egyptologists and said, please, can we test some of your stuff to see if our system works? And guess whose system doesn't work? Oh, the Egyptologist is saying to the radiocarbon experts, hey, you better go back to the drawing board, juniors, because your system is wrong. Whereas the radiocarbon experts, once they'd settled it down, they were in the process of trying to figure out what worked and so on and so forth. They should have told the Egyptologists, we are the gorillas on the block, and you are the juniors, and you'd better go back to the drawing board. They didn't do it, but I'm telling you now, you Egyptologists, you'd better go back to the drawing board now! Because you're a bunch of flunkies. You fail! And you've been failing for over a century, almost 200 years. You've been failing in your chronology, going all the way back to Champollion. You're flunkies. And so many of you are flunkies at the public trough. You're using public funds to pass on your corrupted, and frankly, I should say corrupt, and frankly it's corrupt now, corrupted chronology.
Academia is corrupted.
It's corrupted. And corrupt because what happens is people are passed on without having to write objectively framed, objectively administered, and objectively marked tests. So what happens is they get their wee little favorites and they pass them on and pass them on. That's how this system
Yeah, but even if they did that, they would frame the questions in a way that passed on their flunkies. Like, they would ask questions like the one I got in history about people in industrial Britain not caring about their children.
Yeah, exactly right. So here's the deal. There's ways of working around that sort of stuff, which is, okay, you just hold your nose and you say whatever. That has nothing to do with the publication. Anyone who does an academic thing should get published. It's not publish or perish. That stuff, it's easy to get stuff out on the internet now. It's just everything you can get out now, right? So it doesn't have to do with publication. It has to do with getting through. So I'll give you an example. All sorts of fogos going around saying framing is a problem because framing of tests, because they're set up for whiteys and males, and they're set up for old guys and all that sort of stuff. Yet how come the people who do the best on SATs are Orientals, East Asians, because the framing doesn't matter. What they do is they just say, okay, this is what we're going to have to memorize or whatever in order to get through these relatively objective tests.
Yeah, okay.
And so that wouldn't scare me. I mean, I could get stuff that was framed by faux gauches, and I'd beat the crap out of them.
Yeah.
Because I'm smarter than you faux gauches. All of you! So that's the thing, you know, and what you do for things like SATs, GRE, any sort of thing, is you come up with a computerized list of a whole bunch of stuff that you could never memorize the whole test, right? Mm-hmm. And you just get a randomized selection question, of those sorts of things, mm-hmm. right? And people could study that sort of stuff. So you wouldn't study the test, you'd study the stuff that the test would be selected from. So this is the way we get out of this horrible fix, the faux gauches and their fellow flunkies. I mean, not everyone's a faux gauche, and it's horrible what they've done, for example, in theoretical physics. It's stunning. Now, that's relativity and quantum theory, so-called modern physics. It's not modern physics, it's medieval physics. It's medieval when you're going around saying God is 3 entities in 1. It's medieval when you're going around saying light is 2 entities in 1. It's a wave and a particle. That's medieval thinking. It's something that should only be in the university environment as a historical artifact. Anyway, back to the Adventures of Tutankhamen. So this is a kid's story about, and it's not really an infant story or anything like that. It's a fair amount of text, fairly good pictures and stuff like that of a little adventure, and I might as well give a little bit away. I'm not giving away the ending. It's a little bit about tomb robbery. Was there a lot of tomb robbery around the time of King Tut? There might well have been, but I don't know if there was much robbery or vandalization of the king's tombs. That came about 150 years later, maybe almost like 200 years later. Yeah, 200 years, almost exactly 200 years later. 150 to 200 years later. The earliest one started 50 years. The bad tomb robberies were carried out by the Assyrians. The Assyrians, but you know, they've got the tomb robberies dated like 1150 BC, and the Assyrians don't record stomping into Egypt until 734 BC. We got a problem, Houston or Harvard and stuff like that. The names of the people that in the 21st dynasty that are they're not Libyan, these foreign names. They are Assyrian. They're not even Mesopotamian. They're not just Assyrian. So many of them are Assyrian royal names. That's a 21st dynasty. The Assyrian royal names show up in the 22nd dynasty. The 21st and the 22nd dynasty are co-evil. Look that up in your Funkin' Wagnalls, you funksters. They're Assyrian royal names. The geographic names of the kings or vice kings of the 22nd dynasty. They are of the sacred precincts of Mesopotamia. The sacred precincts going back in order: Ashur, Nineveh, Babylon. Actually, the Egyptians were recording troubles with so-called Libyans well before the Neo-Assyrian Empire. And so it goes to Babylon, and then it goes to Ur. Check it out. It's the sacred precincts of these places. So, what's the sacred precinct of Nineveh? Mash, mash. And the Assyrians mixed up W's and M's, as did the Egyptians. Do I have to do review for your Egyptologists? So that's mesh-wash. these, as you Egyptologists should know, are mere conventions, because basically, for all intents and purposes, the Egyptian script is consonantal. Mash, mash, mesh, wesh. You're looking at the dude who, so far as I know, discovered it for the first time. Why didn't you discover it, you Egyptologists? How about the Libu? Well, holy smokes, it could be Rebu, because that's what it should be in Egyptian. Have we got some time?
You have about 3 minutes.
To set these flunkies straight? Libu. In this case, it is an L. Is that Libyan? It could be. But you know, when you're dealing with two consonants, you know, Tula in Mexico, Tula in Russia, they're not the same place. Newsflash for Egyptologists. Libu, what is it in reality? Now, because we've got mash mash, we're looking for Mesopotamia. And a capital, and a sacred precinct. What's the sacred precinct of Ashur, the traditional southern capital of Assyria? Oh, it's Libby Alley, the heart city. And by itself, it would be Libu, the heart. Oh, how about the Chehenu? Now that one's a bit more of a stretch, because what you've got is the Egyptians had an affricate, and in the original, it's a fricative. It's Shu-Ana, the name of the sacred precinct of Babylon. Check it out. Now, here's your homework assignment. Do try this at home, please. Check out what the name of the sacred precinct of Ur, of the so-called Chaldees, really of Sumer, was called. And you might find out what Chumuk was. Okay, so this is kids' thing.
I got that.
It's pretty
years
good for
ago
kids.
When, like,
a little bit of violence.
When we first started together, actually, I was thinking of you going through that with our child. That's why I got that.
No, so you got it used, of course. Not new, so if you do see it around, it comes recommended. They do have... it's mainly for guys. They have one girl in here and stuff like that. So they could have done a little bit better that way. It's 1995. It's almost a generation ago. So pretty good. This other stuff, tune in tomorrow or whenever it is for some comic.
Yeah, that was my high school comics. It's not all of my high school comics. Those are the ones that I guess survived.
There's some good ones here.